Guys, so my last video got a little long-winded, and I really just wanted to make that video about uh, the past of the car, or the history of the car, and what all was on the car. And I kind of started talking about my engine parts over here on the shelf, but I want to get into the actual new engine build in this video. So here's the new engine that I'm building. It's covered up with a plastic bag when I'm not messing with it. That's just to keep dust and whatnot out of the cylinders, because you definitely don't want any kind of foreign material in the engine. So I'll try to talk about this thing from the bottom up. So it's the block is a teksid aluminum block. It's actually it's half the weight of an iron block. The old engine that was in the car was an iron block. So I'm dropping, I think the iron block was 160 pounds, and this aluminum block is right around 80 something pounds. So I mean, it's half the weight of the iron block. It has a Cobra forged crank in it. I think it's 4130 forged. Guys have pushed them to over 1,000 horsepower, so I won't be making anywhere near that, so I'm not worried about the crankshaft. I reused the rods out of my old engine. They're MMR I-beam rods. They're good to 750 horsepower at the wheels, so probably somewhere around 900 at the crank. King brand main bearings, standard size. I did a modification to the thrust bearing on this motor, give it a little bit more strength. I did drilled a hole in the face of it into the oil galley of the block, which is gonna give a direct feed of oil to the face of that bearing, make it live longer. Let's see, rod bearings, King, once again, standard size bearings. The oil pump, it's a factory Ford oil pump, the housing is, and then on the inside I have a Triangle Speed Shop billet oil pump gears. And the reason I have the billet oil pump gears is because these oil pumps are known for, or the cast gears that come in these pumps are known for failing when you're spinning these motors over probably 6,500 RPMs. And this one's going to probably be seeing 7K plus RPMs pretty regularly, so definitely didn't want to skimp on the oil pump gears. Also on the front of the block right here, you can see these timing dials, and they're threaded in on the aluminum blocks. These are actually heavy duty ones. I had to have the machine shop drill out the holes and for the bigger threads on these. They were an M6, now they're an M8 thread, because whenever you run these motors on a two-step, there's a lot of back and forth force on these dials, and they're known to break off in the blocks. The factory ones are, so I went with these upgraded ones. The engine's also running a windage tray. You can kind of see it in there. What the windage tray does is whenever the crankshaft's spinning inside the engine and the oil pan, there's a mist of oil all inside the oil pan, and whenever the crankshaft hits that mist, it causes parasitic loss of power. So they say that this windage tray is good for about 15 horsepower. So once again, with the purpose I'm building this engine for, I kind of wanted to, you know, not skip any, not really cutting corners on that. Oil pan is a Moroso fabricated oil pan, supposed to hold 7 quarts of oil. I think the stock oil pan holds 6 quarts, so 1 extra quart of capacity. ARP side bolts on the mains, and I'm also running ARP studs on the mains. That's pretty much a given. You always want to have that done when you're running any kind of power on these engines. Let's see. The main bores are line honed. The machine shop done that. The block is bored 20 over, and I'm running Wiseco negative 13cc dished pistons. That's gonna put my compression ratio in the neighborhood of 10:1 with the heads that I'm running on this engine, and give you a good look at the pistons. I don't know if you can see the nice cross hatch and cylinder walls on this camera. That's really nice. The machine shop I sent this off to did a really good job. The block was decked. That means that this head surface was shaven down, so it's a perfectly flat surface for the heads and the head gaskets to seal on. Got the ARP crankshaft bolt right there. The heads are off in the machine shop right now. I'm getting some new valves and upgraded valve springs and all that good stuff in them. So whenever I get those in, I'll do another video for that. One thing I forgot to mention is really not a big deal, but I think it's pretty cool. I replaced the freeze plugs in this block with brass freeze plugs, which don't corrode like steel. So you don't really have, that's one less thing you have to worry about. See them on the sides right here. Not really a big deal, but just a little something cool I figured I'd put in the video that I did. Alright, moving on from the engine, we'll go over here to the cool stuff. The turbocharger. It's a On3 Performance 76mm ball bearing turbo. Chinese junk, but hopefully it holds up pretty well in the car. Spin that right there. Doesn't really have any play. A little bit of side to side, which I've read is normal for a ball bearing turbo, and there's no shaft play. Very nice piece for what I paid for it. A couple other things, the oil feed and whatnot for the turbo. And here's the wastegate. What the wastegate does on a turbocharged car is it controls how much pressure from the turbo actually goes into the intake manifold. There's a spring inside here, and that spring opens up in a certain amount of pressure, so you don't run too much boost to your engine. You control the amount of boost that the turbo is pushing into the engine. Blow-off valve, what this does is releases all the pressure out of the pipes whenever you let off the throttle. So whenever your throttle body closes, you don't have all that pressure slamming into the throttle body, because nothing good happens whenever that happens. I've got a whole bunch of piping and whatnot for the kit up here, and whenever I install all that stuff, I'll do that, or I'll show all that in the video for the installation. And some more crap on the shelf, and that's really all I have for right now. Whenever I get the heads back, I'll do a little video on them, and then I'll get this engine assembled minus the camshafts, which I still have to buy. That's my next big purchase, so it's going to be a little while. And then I'm going to drop the engine in the car and start mocking up this turbo kit. That's all I have for this video. Out.